meteorites are constantly falling on our planet, and the risk of them exploding in the air or hitting the ground can vary. Some meteors can survive their passage through the atmosphere and fall to Earth. Although history has been known to claim that meteorites hit people and killed them, historical documents have not yet confirmed this. The problem may be due to the fact that the relevant manuscripts were not written in English, or that there was insufficient interest in such historical records. We show the first evidence of a meteorite hitting a man and killing him and paralyzing another. The incident occurred on August 22, 1888 in Sulmaniye, Iraq, and was described in 3 manuscripts in Ottoman Turkish found in the General Directorate of State Archives of the President of the Republic of Turkey. The ruler of Sulmaniye reported the incident to Abdülhamid II, the 34th Sultan of the Ottoman Empire. The find suggests that there may be other historical records describing other events in which meteorites caused death and injury. Documents from the General Directorate of State Archives of Turkey were used as the main source. We translated the letters verbatim into modern Turkish and commented on their contents. This is the only method we have used to shed light on the incident. There is no evidence in any of the sources cited in the introduction that the person was killed by a meteorite, or that even a fragment of it was discovered after the tragedy. Which is surprising because later it will be said that a piece of stone was attached to the letter sent by Ahmed Munir Pasha on October 18, 1888 to the Grand Vizier Mehmed Kamil Pasha of Cyprus. I doubt that it was just a stone. To our knowledge, due to difficulties in reading Ottoman Turkish and little interest in historical manuscripts, no data on meteorites and their falls based on manuscripts from the Turkish State Archives have yet been published. The 2018 annual report of Turkey's General Directorate of State Archives states that a total of 60,132,570 documents were translated into digital media. Among this dataset are approximately 5,640,000 documents digitized from 6 primary sources: Ali Emery. Papers of the Chief Archivist and Librarian of the Sultan. There are still many documents left in the archives awaiting analysis and digitization. Our documents were extracted from the papers of the Ministry of Internal Affairs. It should be noted that the dates written at the end of each manuscript refer to the old Hijri and Julian calendar systems, so we have converted them to dates according to the Gregorian, modern, calendar. The first manuscript is dated September 13, 1888 according to the Gregorian calendar. The event itself occurred 12 days earlier, in the previous month, on August 22, 1888, but it was reported only 12 days later, on September 1, 1888. The letter begins with an appeal to the authorities, then proceeds to describe the details of the event. According to the letter, a meteor falling on August 22 at 20:30 near Sulmaniye resulted in an explosion in the air. The meteorites fell on a pyramid-shaped hill on the outskirts of the village of Chasane. Its location is unknown, but the area where it fell was west of Sarkana. A bright, strong light was accompanied by smoke, and the object flew towards the village of Delayer, located east of Sulmaniye. We did not find the name and location of this village in Arabic, Kurdish, or on the map written in Ottoman Turkish. It may have been renamed since then. In the nearby village of Gürlmür, similar events occurred. Meteorites fell from the sky for about 10 minutes like rain, killing one person and leaving another seriously injured and paralyzed. The text further states that the people in the village of Delaver thanked God since no one in the village was harmed, except for the completely destroyed crops and cultivated areas. A sample of the meteorite was sent by Darand Pasha Mustafak, ruler of the Mosul Vilayet in Sulmaniye, to the imperial palace for information to the Sultan. The second manuscript begins with a summary of events and indicates that the letter is from Ahmed Munir Pasha. Was immediately handed over to Sultan Abdul Hamid II by the Grand Vizier of the Second Safar on October 8, 1888, to inform him and decide how to proceed in this case. It should be noted that no response from the Sultan has yet been found, since our 2 national archives are still in the process of reorganization and digitization work is ongoing. Although there is still a huge amount of unexplored documents in the national archives, These first historical finds can be seen as the beginning of work that may subsequently shed light on further research in this area. The third manuscript briefly repeats the previous letters and adds only that Ahmed Munir Pasha sent a letter with a piece of stone on October 18, 1888 to the Grand Vizier Mehmed Kamil Pasha of Cyprus. We have also attached an official map of Silmania from 1915 to show the location of the incident. The map of the district was printed by the printing house of the Ottoman Empire's War Ministry. The distance between Ceylanbar and Sarkana is about 67 kilometers in a straight line. Although due to the lack of witness statements mentioning the exact parameters of the trajectory, it is almost impossible to determine the exact speed, direction and altitude of the meteor explosion. What can be said is that the phenomenon was observed in the skies over Ceylanbar, which was reported to the government by local authorities. The last fragments of the meteorite fell to the ground on a hill near the village of Chasane behind Sarkana, killing one person and injuring another. If the meteor flew from Ceylanbar to Sarkana, as mentioned in the original manuscripts, it could finally explode after penetrating the atmosphere to an unknown height. On the map, a star indicates the approximate location of the explosion in the air, and a cross indicates the approximate location of the impact. In addition, we have added a drawing of the pyramid-shaped hill mentioned in the first manuscript. Discussion and conclusion from the author of the article. The meteorite on August 22, 1888, flew from the direction of Ceylanbar, that is, from the southeast, headed to the village of Chasane, located near Sarkana northwest of Ceylanbar, and ended its path on a pyramid-shaped hill in the Silmania region, now Iraq. The meteor's entry into the atmosphere caused an explosion in the air, with some of its fragments striking two people, killing one and paralyzing the other. Damage to crops and cultivated areas was also reported. The local ruler reported this incident on September 13. On October 8, his report reached the central administration, and the next day, October 9, 1888, was transferred to the Sultan himself. This is the first ever report that a meteorite killed a person, supported by 3 manuscripts reporting the incident. Due to the fact that these documents are taken from official government sources and the correspondence of local authorities, including the Grand Vizier himself, we have no doubt about their reality. At this stage, we obviously cannot prove that these stones sent to the administration are indeed meteorites, since we do not have physical evidence in the form of the samples themselves. However, during our regular visits to the archives, we came across as yet unpublished documents that state that a number of meteorite samples after various impacts were sent to the Museum, now the Museum of Archaeology in Istanbul. To further confirm the Silmania incident and other reports of meteorite impacts, additional documentary evidence and a deeper systematic search in the repositories of the State Archives and the Museum of Archaeology are needed. From a historical perspective, there is always a need to gain new knowledge about the meteorite impacts that have caused death and injury throughout history, which will inevitably require a systematic review of all historical records in the original languages, although this is a difficult task. Thus, to overcome these difficulties, much work and interdisciplinary collaboration with historians, librarians and translators is required. In addition, the manuscripts at the General Directorate of State Archives of Turkey are still in the process of being processed. Only after a thorough review of the documents, with international cooperation, can a potential link between human deaths and injuries and meteorite impacts be confirmed. While searching for information about this incident, I really thought that we still do not know about earlier episodes. But I couldn't even imagine how much I was mistaken, as I came across a comment by Mikhail Gerstein. Mikhail Gerstein, American physicist, poet and writer. Turkish experts were clearly in a hurry to declare this case the first in history to have evidence. In 1984, the journal Meteoritics published an article by Cavagna, Paul Weissman, and Donald Yeomans on meteorite deaths in Chinese history. The authors cite official documents and dynastic chronicles, which are considered a reliable source of information and have no less evidentiary value than the correspondence of Turkish pashas and viziers. January 14, 616 ADE. A large shooting star, shaped like a barrel, fell on the Weissman rebel camp. It destroyed the assault tower, attacking the wall, crushing more than 10 people to death. This event is recorded in chapters 4 and 21 of the history of the Sui dynasty from 581 to 618. The meteorite was probably large, perhaps weighing tens to hundreds of kilograms, the authors comment. However, the death could have been the result of a tower collapse rather than a direct meteorite impact. The source is one of the official dynastic histories. This may be the earliest fatal meteorite accident in human history. In 1341, it rained iron in the east of Lake Krai. Houses and hilltops were covered in holes. Most of the people and animals it hit were killed. According to the authors, the mention of iron strongly suggests a meteoric origin because iron is rarely found in pure metallic form on the surface of the earth. In February 1490, stones fell like rain in the Qianyang region of Shanxi province. The larger ones were from 1.5 kilograms, and the smaller ones, from 1 kilogram. They killed tens of thousands of people. The official dynastic history confirms what happened, but is silent about the number of victims. Numerous stones fell in Qianyang. Their sizes were different. The big ones looked like goose eggs, and the small ones looked like water chestnuts. Perhaps the number tens of thousands is just a synonym for very many and the real number of victims was not so great. According to the authors, the description of rocks falling like rain bears some resemblance to the largest rock meteorite shower that fell on March 8, 1976, near Jilin Province, China. The Jilin meteorite shower, with a scattering ellipse of 72 by 8.5 kilometers, contained more than 100 fragments with a total mass of over 2,700 kilograms. The largest of these fragments weighed 1,770 kilograms. This is the largest stony meteorite known to date. Here Mikhail Grinstein was mistaken, because the largest meteorite known today is Goba, fell about 80,000 years ago. It was found by pure chance, because there was no crater or other traces of the fall. And don't ask how it happened that such a huge thing left no traces of the fall. The meteorite was never weighed. It is believed that its initial mass when falling to Earth was about 90 tons. In 1920, its mass was estimated to be about 66 tons, but erosion, scientific research and vandalism took their toll. The meteorite lost weight to 60 tons. Personally, I very much doubt that it is a meteorite, but since scientists said it, it means most likely it is so. In 1639, in Qingzhou County, a large stone suddenly fell on a small market street. Several dozen houses were destroyed. The number of those killed was several dozen. The author's comment reads, "It was likely a large rocky meteorite." It is unfortunate that the record does not provide details about the extent of damage to houses or whether a large meteorite fragment was found on the ground. The number of people killed was likely the result of house collapses rather than a direct meteorite hit. On June 30, 1874, at night, during a thunderstorm, a huge stone fell from the sky on Chanku Aishan in Mintongli. He crushed half a village house and killed a child. The authors of the article write that the sound effects of a meteorite fall could be mistaken for a thunderstorm, although they do not exclude the coincidence of the incident with a thunderstorm. The article also contains cases that occurred after the incident described by Turkish scientists. On September 5, 1907, a stone fell in Xinpai Wei in Wenli. Wang Tengai's entire family was crushed to death, and on April 25, 1915, at 11 a.m., a meteorite fell in the village of Taoyang, east of the city of Maipo. He fell on the woman's shoulder and tore off her hand. The color of the stone was bluish-black. There were 4 or 5 stones in total. Large ones weighed more than 3.5 kilograms. The smaller ones weighed from 5 to 2 kilograms. European chronicles and books also contain cases of deaths from meteorites before 1888. In 1633 or 1634, the exact date is not indicated in the found document. In Milan, a stone from heaven pierced the thigh of a Franciscan monk, breaking the femoral artery, which caused rapid death. The stone removed from the leg was lens-shaped and 4 to 5 centimeters in diameter. Although the meteorite itself was lost in the middle of the 18th century, its detailed description and even a color drawing have been preserved. The drawing itself could not be found since the author did not mention the name of the meteorite. In 1836, recalling this and other cases, the Athenaeum magazine wrote, "They tried to prove that there was not a single case of death due to meteorite falls." Recently Mr. Babinet, Professor Lockyer's son-in-law, sent a note about such an incident and a piece of meteorite to the French Academy of Sciences. He fell in American near Roquefort and, having punched a hole 1.5 meters in diameter in the roof of a cottage, killed 2 people. In 1647, the Swedish sailor Olaf Eriksson Willman described a case when a stone weighing 3.6 kilograms fell onto the deck of a ship, killing 2 sailors. Mr. Weirden reported to the Academy that a similar story took place in Georgia in 1826, when a meteorite caused the death of several people. Moreover, in July 1829, an Indian named Delicate died in the same manner. The list of cases of death from meteorites before 1888 does not end there, but I believe that the examples already given are quite sufficient. Against this background, the incident in Turkey remains just an ordinary episode in the history of meteoritics, no different from similar incidents in other countries. Now I'll add on my own. Based on all the information I have studied, I can only say one thing. The planet is quite many years old and we cannot say exactly when the very first case of a meteorite hitting a person took place, since many manuscripts are lost forever, and what has survived we have to decipher and evaluate the veracity of those events, and furthermore it is not a fact that they were the first after all. We trust what we see and not what we heard. Translated information from ancient records. It is also worth adding that most of the stories look like hoaxes since the remains of meteorites have not been found, and trusting old records without more compelling evidence is similar to believing in fairy tales. This is why at the moment the same meteorite is Silicaga or Hodges. Video about the cat is already on the channel.